All of our plans are fully costed and fully funded, and that means no tax rises for working people.
We're not going to be raising tax on working people.
We will not raise taxes on working people.
The Labour government will not raise income tax, will not raise national insurance contributions and will not raise VAT.
We're not going to increase tax on working people, and that means
that Labour will not be putting up taxes on working people.
But no, we don't think that we should be raising taxes on working people.
There'll be no additional taxes on households under a Labour government.
Let me be absolutely clear, we will not raise tax for working people.
We will not raise taxes on working people.
We have said we're not raising taxes on working people.
And we're not going to be increasing taxes on working people.
We will not be increasing taxes on working people.
That is a commitment not to increase taxes on working people.
I don't believe it's fair to raise taxes on working people.
We will not further increase personal taxes
on working
lower
people. That burden on working people.
There's nothing in our manifesto which requires additional taxes.
It's complete garbage. We will not be raising taxes on working people.
I'm not going to be raising taxes on working people.
I want taxes to be
And we're not going to be increasing taxes on working people.
We've said we will not be raising taxes on working people.
And we're now hearing an average of £100 more for an average family.
We have no plans to raise taxes on working people. We've said it a million times.
The biggest tax raising measure in the budget was the national insurance increase.
No income tax, no national insurance, no VAT.
None of us came into politics in order to leverage tax on the farming community.
I want taxes on working people to be lower.
The decision by Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner to approve a massive 10th increase in council tax across the country has laid bare the sheer dishonesty and incompetence of the Labour Party in managing public finances. This move not only highlights their failure to control spending, but also demonstrates their utter disregard for the financial burden being placed on ordinary citizens. Labour had previously promised not to raise taxes on working people, yet this decision completely contradicts that pledge. The increased council tax will directly impact millions of households, especially those on middle and lower incomes, pushing them further into financial hardship amid an already worsening cost of living crisis. Moreover, this tax hike comes at a time when inflation is at 2.5, making a tense rise both unreasonable and unfair. It is yet another sign that Labour is not only economically incompetent, but also lacks any real empathy for the struggles faced by ordinary people. It is particularly alarming that, while local councils are typically allowed to raise council tax by up to 5 per year, Labour has given the green light to double that limit. Instead of implementing sustainable and effective solutions to improve financial management, they have chosen the lazy and damaging route of simply increasing taxes, passing the burden onto the very people they claim to represent. This decision also raises serious questions about Labour's commitment to protecting the interests of the working class and the most vulnerable members of society. Instead of taking meaningful action to support struggling families, they have opted for a regressive tax increase that contradicts their supposed values of fairness and social justice. In short, Angela Rayner's approval of this council tax hike is a clear demonstration of Labour's dishonesty and incompetence. The British public deserves leadership that prioritizes their well-being and makes sound financial decisions, not a party that continuously breaks promises and shifts the cost of its failures onto hard-working citizens.
We need to be clear about council tax. Labour would freeze council tax next year using that windfall tax that hasn't been collected. Yes, you heard it right. Not a penny more on your council tax, not a penny more than the bill you paid last year. And that is a tax cut for the 99% of working people. Is what would a Labour government do to help? And we've said, well, we'd have frozen energy bills. We led on the argument for that last year. We say now we would freeze council tax for the next year because that will help people make ends meet. Now, it's not hypothetical because the money we would use is the profits from oil and gas companies. We would tax that. There's £10 billion there. The government could, just as they stole the idea of an energy price freeze from us, they can steal this. And we could move on this in the next few weeks, because if the government said we'll match Labour and have a freeze on council tax for the next year, we would obviously vote for it. The money is available, and if the government was serious about dealing with the cost of living, they would take this Labour idea and run with it.
The Labour Party, under the leadership of Sir Keir Starmer, has consistently demonstrated a pattern of political duplicity, making grand promises to the public only to betray them at the first opportunity. One of the most glaring examples of this deception is the commitment that there would be not a penny more added to council tax under a Labour government. This statement was made to reassure struggling households that a Labour administration would not exacerbate their financial burdens. However, as with so many of Labour's pledges, it quickly unravelled into yet another broken promise. It is not just a case of misinformation or disinformation. It is an outright lie designed to manipulate voters into trusting Labour with their hard-earned money. Starmer's leadership is riddled with contradictions, where one day he makes bold promises to win votes, and the next he conveniently forgets them when it becomes politically inconvenient. The phrase, "not a penny more," is unequivocal, leaving no room for interpretation, yet the Labour Party, as always, treats its voters with contempt, assuming that the public will either forget or simply accept being deceived. Angela Rayner, in her typical brash and aggressive style, plays the role of Starmer's enforcer, defending these lies while offering no logical justification for them. Rayner, who lacks the intellectual rigor and credibility to engage in meaningful policy debates, prefers instead to resort to empty rhetoric, divisive class warfare, and insults directed at political opponents, rather than offering actual solutions. Instead of holding Starmer accountable for his broken promises, she parrots party lines and attempts to deflect criticism by blaming the Conservative government for everything, as if Labour's own history of economic incompetence has been erased from memory. The Labour Party under Starmer and Rayner operates with a stunning level of arrogance, believing that they can say whatever is politically expedient without any expectation of follow-through. Their approach to governance is not based on principle or integrity, but on opportunism and deception. They claim to be the party of working people, yet their policies would only serve to burden the very taxpayers they pretend to represent. They cry foul at Tory spending cuts while quietly planning their own tax hikes behind the scenes. The Labour Party, under the leadership of Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner, operates with a breathtaking level of political arrogance. Time and again, they make sweeping promises designed to appease voters, only to quietly shift their stance when scrutiny intensifies. Their strategy is not one of principled governance, but of calculated expediency, saying whatever is necessary in the moment, with little regard for long-term credibility or follow-through. Despite branding themselves as the champions of working people, their economic vision tells a different story. The rhetoric may be wrapped in the language of fairness and progress, but the reality is a looming burden on taxpayers. Labour denounces Conservative spending cuts with great indignation, yet behind closed doors, they are already preparing a wave of tax hikes that will hit hard-working families the hardest. The contradictions in their messaging are not just incidental. They are central to their political playbook. Starmer and Rayner have mastered the art of opposition politics, railing against Tory policies while offering no clear or consistent alternative. They call for increased public spending, but evade direct answers on where the money will come from. They promise economic responsibility while hinting at policies that would drive businesses away. It is governance by smoke and mirrors, a game of saying one thing to one audience and another to the next, all in pursuit of power rather than principle. If Labour truly believes in representing the interests of working people, they must be honest about their intentions. Instead, they continue to rely on deception and opportunism, assuming that voters will not notice the contradictions in their approach. But as the next election looms, the public will demand more than empty rhetoric. They will want answers. And when that time comes, Labour's evasions may no longer be enough to shield them from accountability. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more updates. Join the discussion in the comments below, and if you haven't already, hit the link to join our Telegram community.